What's going on YouTube? I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I turned this sketch into this full scene right here. Now I drew that little doodle about 2 years ago and I decided to finally put it to use. I didn't really want to paint it. Originally, I think I tried doing something in Illustrator with it, but I wasn't how I wanted it to be. If any of you are seasoned Blender vets and notice anything that I'm doing wrong or any tips that are going to help me out, please let me know in the comments below, anything that's going to help me improve. I pretty much just wanted to document my progress throughout this whole journey to show people that you can start something new and continue to, grow and learn new things and add to your arsenal, especially in the creative field. I look back at a lot of my old edits as an editor, and it's cool to see the growth from my first edits years ago to what I'm capable of doing now. And so I intend to do the same thing via Blender and just document the whole process, all my little creations. Also, I do want to say that I am a little bit limited on what I can and can't do. I do have a little bit of an older PC. I'm running a 1070 graphics card, but we're making what I have work. We're going to continue building skills until I can upgrade the PC and learn some crazy stuff. If you guys enjoy the video and want to stick along for my journey, I greatly appreciate it. But I'm going to let the music roll for a minute and I'll check back in shortly.
This ain't a hoe, this ain't a foe. Grind never stopping, I'm keeping it cold. Unlocking the door with the holy key. You supposed to be this close to me, and hopefully you understand G.O.D. Maybe this cold and I'm talking like no degrees. This ain't a fluke, I seen it way before it ever happened. He gave me the view. I had to put in my time on the TV, it coming in soon. I couldn't leave it all up to a variant or an experience. You gotta get up and do what it do. So complicated, homie, it's you. Always gonna wait until you in the mood.
What's going on YouTube? I hope you guys are all having yourselves a fantastic day today. Kevin, today's video, we're going to be creating fishing gear. Now, but this was my first time making. It might be a two-part video, but I want to be very clear off the one shirt. This is not a tutorial by any means. I am showing my steps, it's just good practice. It's more for different accessories, and that's going to be just to show my progress in general. All the scenes I make with him, they're going to be somewhat obviously relating to the environments I put them in or whatever I create with them. But it's a lot of fun trying to figure out how to get these accessories to fit around the body, making the inside of the hat actually fit around his head and that sort of thing. It was a little bit challenging, but it was just fun overall. I will say, however, the accessories did present a lot of challenges in the future, especially when I rigged an armature for this guy. I had the hardest time, especially with the shorts, getting the shorts to work to the point where I just said screw it, the shorts are just going to stay standalone and I'll model around whatever position I put him in. So it's completely wrong and not the proper way to do it, and eventually I'll figure it out. I've been watching some tutorials and I spent a bunch of time reading forums and stuff like that, and I still couldn't figure it out. So I just kind of chalked it for this one, and that'll come with time as I continue to practice.
I've been running, keep on gunning, stop the fronting on your words. It's what you hear, not what you heard. I'ma hang on every verb. I'ma show you what it's worth. Every day I'm on the earth till they put me in the dirt. I'ma get into it first. Said I'ma get into it first. Until they put me in the dirt. Said I'ma get into it first. Said I'ma get into it. I can't break, that's the thing about me. I won't put.
Adding in color is easily one of my favorite parts so far in Blender because it brings whatever you're working on to life. Now I did some basic colors for the eyes and skin, obviously, and just like in the last video, we threw some gold grills on just to play around with the metallic sort of look. I also was pretty happy with the tan clothes and tan hat at first, but I wanted to add in a little bit of more texture to look kind of like some camo. So I used the same setup for the gold grills and just changed the colors in the color ramp and just messed around with a few settings until I got a look that I liked.
These goals on freeze. I can't break, that's the thing about me. I won't put these goals on freeze.
Anyways, next up was setting up the armature so we could eventually put our character in different poses and set him up how we'd like to have him. Now the first time I did this, it went really smooth in the previous video, but the problem was I modeled my character's legs outwards, completely wrong. So when I finished the armature, his legs weren't bending properly. So that was one of the big keys that I wanted to get right in this video, and honestly it took way longer than it should have. I was missing a certain step at some point that I just couldn't track down, so I ended up having to do it 3 or 4 times. As you can see, when I moved the leg, part of the leg wouldn't move with it and it was stretching, and that was the same case for the arms as well. I still to this day don't know how that happened because I followed the tutorial 3 or 4 times and on the 4th go it worked, but on these previous ones it didn't. So if you guys have some insight on why you think it might be that way, let me know in the comments below. I thought at first it was because like the armature bones were bigger than my actual model, so I did some adjusting there, but even then it still didn't work. So again, I have no idea how I ended up fixing it because I literally watched the same tutorial over and over again, followed the steps seemingly perfectly. It still didn't work, so let me know in the comments below if you know what happened. It'd be greatly appreciated. Once I finally got it to start working properly, my excitement was short-lived because then became the problem of getting my accessories, aka the clothes, to properly stick to my mesh, and that was a whole mess in itself. The vest worked good for a little bit, and then yeah, it just didn't work. So that's definitely on my list to learn properly because I still haven't figured that one out yet. That was a whole frustrating situation in itself, but I didn't let that stop me, and I just modeled around whatever pose I put my character in. Not the most convenient or efficient way to do things, but at the end of the day I got it done. Also, when things get a little bit frustrating, I tend to find myself just messing around in pose mode, and that's why we have Kevin doing a little bit of a dab here. But it was time to get back to work, and honestly this was one of the things I was looking forward to the most, was making a fishing pole. I was gonna originally just make like a stick in the hand, that's not really how I do things, and I wanted to actually make like a full-on reel with a little bit of like the actual pins and stuff like that. I used to fish a lot in real life, so I wanted to make something pretty cool with that, and here we go.
I sense the face, the shakes is cold, the grace is more. Plus it's really the motivation, so it's thank you so. Sweat that's on my neck, hard work on my brain. The easy route taking the left, it's on my chest. No time for regrets, faith in the Jimmy like Steph. Shooting is wet like clay, the party ain't maybe this way. I'm taking all of this left to the bank. I'ma deposit and see what it make. Shoot it, so it's reap. I paid a meter, I came in with Peter like Peter on water. I'm stepping in deeper, they know that I'm coming like follow the leader. So I'm taking a chance today. Standing inside of the kitchen, I turn on the heater. I'm here to turn on my brothers and sisters and cousins and mothers until my believers get into it first. Said I'ma get into it first. Until they put me in the dirt. Said I'ma get into it first. Said I'ma get into it. I can't break, that's the thing about me. I won't put these goals on freeze. I can't break, that's the thing about me. I won't put these goals on freeze.
As you can see, initially I started the pole outside of his hand, and then I was worried about getting like the size right or the dimensions right, so I put the handle in the hand of Kevin, and I thought that was going to be a good idea, and I mean it's not the worst idea. I realized that it was just easier to get the dimensions right than bring it back out of the hand and build it, you know, straight up and down. It was just too complicated. It was causing a little bit of an issue because I mean a fishing pole is, it's flexible, but it's straight up and down. So when I was modeling it out of his hand, I wasn't really getting a straight pole. It was slightly curved or something like that. So I brought it back out of his hand once I got the dimension, correct, and then I went from there. After I created a straight pole, I decided to put it back into Kevin's hand because that's where it's going to be resting. And the next step was to make the reel. Now, I have a really visual mind. I don't even know if that makes sense. I can see images in my mind like pretty easily, like when I draw, when I create, all that stuff. So I decided to wing the reel just based off of what was in my head, and I promise you what you guys are seeing right now is not what was in my head. I was just having a hard time replicating it into Blender. So this is where I realized how important reference photos are. And I mean, there's a few times throughout this video that I've used reference photos with the vest as well as the bottom of the fishing pole. But for some reason, I just thought I could just wing the reel without the... Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I promise you this is not what I imagined in my... So it took 1 or 2 tries, and I honestly was so happy with the reel. Like, I was stoked on it. I didn't even think I could create something this complicated yet in Blender. Complicated, I'm putting quotes around that, I want to make that very clear. For me, complicated. Honestly, I could have just left the reel case or body, whatever you want to call it, empty, and that could have just been perfectly fine. But I was intrigued to try to make something, again, a little bit more complicated, or maybe complicated is not the right word. Maybe, let me think. More detailed, that's what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to put the spool and obviously the actual like turning mechanism and ordeal, and I just like got lost in this. I just like kept going, adding things in, and again, I was super proud of this. I know some of you Blender gods in here, if you guys are watching this newbie video, are probably cringing at me calling this complicated, but that's alright. It was super fun for me. I was very excited on the outcome of this. So anyways, here's me going ham on the reel.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land. Whole wrist covered up in ice. Dealership, never asked the price. I hit the molly ball with my dogs. Y'all swipe it once without thinking twice, cause this what I was made for. Man, I know this what I came for. On a big stage, couple thousand people, and they do whatever I say so. Have chicks that color of the rainbow. Yeah, chains on me like Django. Be a long way from my tank low, cause my Tesla charge for them bank rolls. And I'm grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, remind me.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. So let them rain on your spark. Keep it close to your heart. All of the pressure's gonna drive you crazy. Cause you rise to the madness. In the morning, it's all gonna vanish. Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you.
Since I blew up, everybody telling me that I'm the man. Same people gave me the finger, they reaching out for me to give a hand. In a different city and my pills came, cause this tour don't happen, I feel pain. And the girl with me say she down for life, but she don't even know what's my real name. Just try to get what she came for, and ain't nothing I got safe though. Cause when the money go wild, everybody get a piece, but it's looking like I ain't on the payroll. Got a big house made out of Play-Doh, and a plastic crown for my halo. But still a long way from my tank low, cause my Tesla charge for them bank rolls. And I'm grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it...
Once I was satisfied with how the reel came out, it was time to add color to not only the reel but the fishing pole. And there was a couple key aspects I wanted to capture here. Now, there's a fishing pole I have in real life that I kind of modeled this off of as well. I know I used reference images, but the fishing pole I have is like carbon fiber, and so I kind of wanted to capture that look a little bit. So once again, I used the same setup I had for the vest as well as the gold grills to capture this sort of like carbon fibery kind of look. I know that it's not exactly the same look as carbon fiber where the fibers are latched over one another, but it's pretty much the same look. And the second key thing I wanted to capture was the cork like handles, I guess, on the reel. It's actually a reel that my dad has that's really cool. I really wanted to capture that wooden cork kind of look, and at some point I was able to get pretty much that cork look. One more thing that I thought was a nice touch was just the straight up metal looking spool and the little pins on the inside. I thought that was a good contrast to the black reel case. The last thing I wanted to add was like a little ice chest or mini cooler sort of thing. When my dad and I used to go fishing a lot, we used to have this red ice chest that we'd always bring our drinks in and our little snacks for our trip. And so I really wanted to add that in as like a little bit of a sentiment thing. And when I showed my dad, he thought it was a good touch as well. At this point, I was very happy with how Kevin turned out, and I think I am going to split this into a 2-part video just because we're already around the 15-minute mark. So the second video, part 2, will be the entire environment around it. I think it'll be a little bit of a shorter video. But if you made it this far, thank you all for watching, and I appreciate it. And again, if you guys have any feedback that's going to help me, any tips, tricks, all that good stuff, drop it in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.